I just think it's such a big part of me now. It started off as my alter ego, it was an escapism thing, you know. Can't imagine stopping. I don't really see the point in stopping.
It's almost part of your DNA. And as to whether I'll sort of stop, I don't think I can. I think it just, as long as I'm able, I'm just going to keep going.
I first saw graffiti in probably 1984 when I was 13 years old. I was always into art and I was really into lettering, so when I first saw graffiti, it really caught my eye.
Seeing films like The Warriors, seeing things like Saturday Night Fever, seeing the graffiti on the trains, Death Wish, things like that, I was really fascinated by how they had graffiti over there that was similar to what was happening over here.
First year, I guess, I had no idea of exactly how to do it because I'd just seen the finished article. I spent about a year trying to deconstruct how to actually paint a piece of graffiti.
Put the bass to this beat.
Over time, you find other people in your area that are sort of into it, or you start people off in your area that want to get into it. So you give them alphabets, you train, you sort of show them how to use cans.
I was just tagging on everything back in those days, writing on the trains, on trucks, buses, train stations.
Once you experience that vibe of actually doing a train, it just, you can't paint walls after that. It's all encompassing. You're on the lines every day, you're going from one end of London to the other. You like everything else that you did in your life just becomes secondary.
Things really kicked off for me when I went to Covent Garden in London in about 1986. I'd already been up there previous to that, checking out the graffiti stuff by the Chrome Angels, who were like London's first graffiti crew and probably everybody's first influence.
Then you find that actually it's like a huge melting pot of people. You had like rappers, break dancers, other graffiti writers from around London and around the country would all congregate there every Saturday. Yeah, you just meet people from different parts of town. They would have different places to go to get paint. They'd have different techniques.
By 86, I was meeting a lot of writers from all over London and just learning a lot of tricks of the trade really, where to get the fat pens, where to get buntlack from, which was like, compared to the car paint that I've been using, was like an art paint that was, I mean, I wasn't buying it, it was stupid money, but we were getting hold of it the way kids do, just stealing it basically.
It got to the point where you're 18, you've got to make a choice. It's like you can carry on doing this, chances of getting nicked and not having any prospects of getting higher because people were getting nicked left, right, centre and going to prison. Plus it was a case of not being supported at home anymore.
I was arrested a couple of times for painting trains, doing the big Mets at New Cross and doing some BRs. A couple of years of going to Crown Court and things, and my mum getting on my case and the house being raided at 6 in the morning and all this stuff that graffiti writers are kind of used to, which seems mad to everybody else. I kind of got to that stage where I would have been going to prison.
So gradually I just sort of just drifted away from the whole graph lifestyle, the painting with people or just hanging with the people because I didn't have time to do it anymore. While they were out enjoying themselves, I'd be sort of sitting in the office. So that just sort of like dissipated and sort of went away.
There was a little scene around Farringdon and I started going up there and getting into legal walls, and I guess just over the years I've just kept painting. I just got this burning desire to just keep painting my name and developing. I'm just really, you know, I'm as passionate and into it now as I was as a sort of 18-year-old kid.
As the internet was coming through and becoming bigger and bigger, I discovered that actually there were sites online which had pieces that had writers and they had graffiti, and I could go on there and I could look at stuff. and see, wow, there's people on there I used to paint with when I was younger, they're still out there, they're still doing it. There was Art Crimes, which was the biggest sort of graffiti site in the world at the time on the internet, and then also there was Digital Jungle, which was the first real UK graffiti site.
From being like this 14-year-old kid to now, you know, it's gone a whole 360. Friends of mine that we painted trains together, like Iron and Ochre, are now doing gallery shows, just making it in the art world. Everybody's got their own individual story. Everybody's come from a certain place. We've all done the same thing. People are taking it in different directions.
Everyone has an understanding of each other in this game. We've all been through the same. Doesn't matter which generation. The one thing we do share is a love for graffiti.
It's just funny to see, you know, like nowadays, like a friend of mine's painting was given by David Cameron to Barack Obama as a gift. I mean, you'd have never seen that in the 80s. They'd have it's just another world now, you know. Things have changed so much in 30 years I've been painting.
7 graffiti artists, 3 days, 1 collection.
I've seen graffiti go from being like the worst crime to now like brands wanting you to sort of do their website, their logo, you know, t-shirts. I mean, I've done some work for Adidas. I've had my own Adidas Skore trainers. A bunch of stuff that I've never really kind of chased, but I've just kind of landed in my lap. I was doing a book project with a friend of mine, Drax. I've always been a bit of a documenter. I've always had a real interest in the story behind graffiti, and especially the London thing. We were trying to do a project that we just got kind of overwhelmed by in the end, but I got to know Merc through that, and we both work in the creative industry, so we had that link of working from a graphic point of view.
You go through phases with this game where you hate it, you love it. I try and have a break from it, but then I just get drawn back in.
I really enjoy that process of planning a wall, buying the paint, talking to other people. You know, there's a lot more paint brands out there now than there used to be. It used to just be like car paint. Now you've got paint brands made specifically for graffiti. You've got Montana, Molotov, Ironlac, all these different companies. And a lot of them have come from classic paint brand companies that have realised they've got this massive audience in graffiti, and they're now making graffiti paint, making specific nozzles for people who want to do particularly thin or particularly fat lines.
For me with paint, you know, I was a big sort of fan of using 94 for quite a few years. Before that I was using Belton. You get comfortable using a paint and everything else just feels weird afterwards. Current favourite paint which I use is Ironlac, which is an Australian brand. It's smooth gloss paint, it's cheap, it goes on really well, it's glossy, it looks beautiful in photos. I wish they had more colours, but what colours they don't have. Montana Black has some absolutely eye-popping colours that just make your piece jump off the wall. What we do is like we'll take a wall that we know exists or where we know we're painting, we'll have a shot of it, and then we'll actually do a very rough, using sketches, mock up, drop characters into position, choose our colours for what we want to do, way before we've actually painted. It saves a lot of time when you get to the wall because you know exactly where everything's going to sit.
I'm still a real lover of that classic wall that I grew up with. Things like Subway Art, this New York train graffiti, and I'll always want to have an element of that in what I do. I don't think there's anything greater than like a pair of matching pieces with a character and a background and just a really good idea, like a concept behind it. Really, that's what I like. I like to see something and go, oh, what a great idea, you know, I wish I'd done that.
But we just wanted to put our own little twist on it. We'd sort of say, well, yeah, it's been over here for this long. This is how we do it. We'll use British cartoon characters, we'll use British comedy references, or we'll reference British food, for example, like the Great British Fryer.
You know, 70s, 80s British culture, you know, the golden years, and I like to bring a lot of that through, and I like to make, you know, maybe some political comment or comments on modern day life, how I see it, comments on graffiti. I like to get a lot of things out in my pieces, and I hope sort of people like look for those things and pick up on some of them. Because I guess you are ultimately writing to some sort of audience and you're looking for some sort of response.
Yeah, style-wise, I've tried to sort of stay quite similar to what I've been doing all along, really. I've just sort of like wanted to be a very subtle mutation over many years. So like if you look at something I did in '85, then look at something I do now, you can see it still follows the same foundation, but it's more complex, it's more balanced, it's in better proportion. But in all honesty, you can look at it and you go, that piece from '85, yeah, that's a Merc piece, and then you look at a piece from 2016 and you go, yep, I can see the connection between the two. It's like there's a certain blueprint to the way you paint that is just your individual mark, and that's what I sort of try and do.
Over the years, I guess I've had a lot of styles. I mean, my early stuff was very sort of meticulous and stiff and aggressive. Now my stuff has become more loose and fast and sort of flappy and funky, which I think is possibly just personality moving on, growing up, being a bit more comfortable in my skin, I guess, a little bit less aggressive than I was as a teenager. Places you can paint legally, just around the central area. You've got a place at South Bank where the skateboarders are that a lot of guys will paint. They sometimes do that in the lunch hour. There's a tunnel at Leek Street which Banksy kind of got permission for originally, I think. Banksy's somebody I've known for a long time, since back in Bristol when he was organising events that I was going to. He's done a lot of good things, I think, for graffiti.
The way things are today, because there's so many people and so many spots have such rapid turnover. I mean, for example, Leek Street, you go down there, you do something, it's like there's no guarantee. You could go around the corner for a pint and just have a chit-chat once you finish, but you're going to come back and it's still going to be there. This disposable art form, it's like it's here today, gone tomorrow. It's like newspaper. It's never going to last. So one of the most important things about when you paint is you've got to take pictures.
I definitely enjoy documenting what I do. I really take great pride in my photos. I love seeing photos of the finished artwork. You know, it's recording a life at the end of the day.
You can take pictures while you're painting the wall, progress shots, post it on Instagram. People all over the world are seeing it that instant. All the people that are connected to you, you can have thousands of followers. They're all checking in at the same time. They will see exactly what you've done just that second. But through that, I've made friends around the world, and it's an international community now with the whole graffiti community.
I'm just out there really, I'm a bit of a weekend warrior, out on a Sunday, hooking up with a few friends, a couple of beers, plan a wall, just do a big production. And that's kind of the way it is today for a lot of guys. We're all in our 40s, we all still bang into it. Some of us are in our 50s.
One of my regular things I do, I go to New York and I go out there, again you sort of like wonder, are you too old for this shit? And it's like, you go over there and then you realise that people that created this scene, this culture, this subculture that I'm part of, are still out there, still doing it. People that have been painting trains in the early 70s are still out there painting. They're doing it week in, week out, and they still love it. They're never going to stop. They absolutely love it.